Yeah, you read that right. We're talking about a new Drake record, Iceman. People are calling it that. Fans are calling it that. Today we're going to go over why we think it's going to be called Iceman and what we know about the record so far. And obviously this all goes hand in hand with the conversation about where Drake's career is at right now after kind of fading a little bit. But then again, the P&D record was a success. We're going to be talking about all of that. So let's jump straight into this. If you want to stay up to date with everything surrounding hip hop, make sure to subscribe and also become a part of this community by joining our Discord server in the description. You can now sign up for my free newsletter with the first link in the description. It comes every Sunday and recaps everything that's been happening in hip hop over the past week, so make sure to do that. So as I said, Drake is in a really weird space right now. We had the beef last year with Kendrick that he obviously lost, and then we did get a couple of attempts of him trying to get back some spotlight. For example, we had the 100gigs.org website, which then also made its way onto streaming. The songs weren't bad, but none of them really broke through, and so a lot of people were like, he's trying to test out the waters. What can he drop? What sort of music do the fans still want? Where can he kind of go into in sort of a niche again to try to be successful in there? Because for a lot of hip hop fans, at least, he did lose some respect after that beef. And then we did have stuff like, for example, the Fighting Irish freestyle with Conductor Williams that we talked about as well, where he reflected a little bit on the beef and he reflected on his career, but it wasn't really nothing that really caught on. And this was kind of the state that he was in for a very long time. What did kind of switch this around though, what gave him some momentum again, was the P&D record, was the collab tape that we had been waiting for such a long time, which obviously dropped February of this year, Valentine's Day, and which did feature some hits. You know, Nokia, for example, is doing really well. I mean, that it's kind of one of those songs that picked up after an initial success and then it picked up again a couple of months later. It's one of those songs, usually a very good sign when songs perform like that, when that's the graph of the songs growing in terms of numbers and in terms of commercial success. So we can still expect some more stuff from that. And we also have reports that he's really working on this new record. Now, initially, this album was announced on a live stream with Aiden Ross, which is really ironic. You might remember the gambling live streams that Drake did with Aiden, and then on one of these, he just randomly, sort of a side sentence that he was saying, he just said that he's working on a new record. Here's that clip.
I've been listening to it. Yeah, of course.
Every time, every journey. Working on a new album right now. It's a
What?
slap.
Already? Solo album?
Yeah. And then shout out to everybody that's been showing us love though, for real, on every song. Shout out to everybody that's coming to Wireless, man. We love you so much. We really do. We really do. We work hard. We work hard on it. Okay, go back to the gambling. Sorry. It's so important. It's so important.
Now, as you can tell, even Aiden is like, okay, already, what's going on? Drake didn't say anything more about this other than it's a slap, which what else could he possibly say? You don't say that your new album is not good. But this was on April 15th. This was the first time that we had heard about a new record, solo record, by him being in the works. As I said, the P&D record was there. That was something that fans have been wanting for a very long time. But when it comes to solo releases, the 100gigs.org thing was the last sort of output that we had from Drake, aside from the Fighting Irish thing. So it was really sort of a, it was a drought in the meantime between the summer of last year when the 100gigs.org thing came up and now when he said he's working on new music. Now, besides some leaks, besides some snippets from that, we don't really have any new music that I could show you because there's just really none. So this new album will hopefully also be all new material. Now, in the meantime, obviously he was also on tour, the Anita Maxwin tour in Australia, which was a big thing as well, especially for fans in that region since he hadn't been there for a very long time. So I guess that was kind of a side quest that he also wanted to do. Now, let's talk about this new record. What do we know about it so far? We know that likely it's going to be called Iceman. The reason why we know this is because on his Finsta on Plot Twist, which was also the account that he promoted the 100gigs.org thing, he started posting random pictures. And one user on Twitter actually figured out that there was some common denominator between a lot of these pictures, which was references to Iceman, if it was just in the caption or if it was through some sort of characters that he was reposting whose nicknames were Iceman. Also on the hoodie that he was wearing in the Aiden Ross live stream, it said Iceman on it. So it's really a lot of, things coming together, kind of dots being connected, no pun intended, when it comes to this title of Iceman. Now, this is also further supported by him posting on the story of the Plot Twist account when he was promoting the 100gigs.org that the folder, just like the computer file folder thing that the files were in for the Plot Twist or for the 100 gigs thing, that was called 2.0 Iceman. So there again, when working on a project, it was called Iceman. So maybe it's called Iceman. At least that's what people are saying so far. Now, this was also further supported, for example, by Mel, who said that Drake has a bomb on Iceman. So he's saying that there's a really good track on there. Obviously, that's the bomb. Or it might also be that he has a Kendrick diss or UMG diss, we don't know, on there. But this obviously just kind of comes with the assumption that it's going to be called Iceman. So that's the reason that everybody in the community right now is saying Iceman. And that's the reason we think that this new record is going to be called Iceman. Now, obviously, this has not been confirmed. Drake has been really quiet when it comes to any info on this. It also feels like right now, let me know if this is just some sort of subjective impression that I'm getting, or if this is actually out there, that besides very fragmented success when people talk about the P&D record, Nokia, for example, it really feels like this has been the least that Drake has been talked about in a very long time. It really feels like this is one of the lowest points, and that's not meant in a negative way, but just when it comes to the media coverage that we've ever been at. Maybe this is because there's just hasn't been any new output, solo output from him. Also, the P&D record kind of flew under a lot of people's radars, and then it only picked up that one song. But in itself, it's a great record, and people really celebrated that. But maybe that was just the fan community that we're kind of biased in, and we just don't see outside of that bubble. But it really feels like, the big mainstream media coverage is not there right now. And so this next project obviously will be very important. People are saying this is kind of the make or break of his career. This will decide which direction it'll go in. Some people are saying it's going to be good because he has that hunger again after losing the beef, after not being talked about. This is kind of the old Drake again, who's coming back up, who has that hunger again to actually make some good new music. And a lot of people have been complaining over the past couple of years that some of the stuff just sounded unoriginal. It just sounded like he was bored. And I was also one of these people saying this. I feel like ever since 2020, a lot of these stuff was just a little unoriginal. Here and there were really great gems, but just in total, it wasn't as curated as some of his older projects. But maybe that's also just recency bias and us celebrating earlier stuff from artists. So I do believe that maybe it's going to be called Iceman. There are some good hints for that. And I think it's going to be a very important record. This is going to be, the first solo project then, ever since the Kendrick beef. And we know how important that was for Kendrick with GNX. So let's see how Drake actually responds to this. And he would have to come through with it sometime soon, because at some point this sort of hype or this sort of build up for a new project, Iceman, will also die back down again. But obviously I do want to know what y'all think about this. Do you think it's going to be called Iceman? When do you think it's actually going to be releasing? What do you make of the silence so far that we've been experiencing, both from Drake but also from the media coverage of him? And do you think that the new album will kind of break that? All of your thoughts on this, please let me know in the comments down below.
If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media, and most importantly, join my Discord in the description. Until the next one, you'll have an incredible day, and y'all take care.